Guys, the finals keep rolling along with the city finals in Hotlanta. Will the dairy farmer put them forearms to good use? Let's find out.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
See, there we go. It's the lights. It's MC Chris. That really gets me going on a Wednesday night. It's a Wednesday night. It's a Wednesday night, guys.
Something like that. I always thought you were talking about me when you said MC Chris. I swear to God, I'm like, wow, what a nice guy giving me all this airtime.
I like MC Chris. I like that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
This is also MC Chris. Guys, we're talking about Season 8, Episode 7 of American Ninja Warrior, the Atlanta City Finals, right here on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Ty Matthews. Y'all can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, all sorts of social media at Ty Matthews PMA, as well as various other after shows. But more importantly than that, my lovely talented co-host.
Thank you. I could not be more important than you, Ty Matthews. So Chris Howard, you can find me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. Also, go to legendarylivingdaily.com where I have daily things that go out to you, motivation, tips, things to make your life incredible, and legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube. But right now, we're here for American Ninja Warrior.
That is absolutely right. This season just flying by. We got some more city finals to talk about tonight, right here at Turner Field, home of the Braves in Atlanta. Let's talk about this new and improved course.
Oh my God.
Of course, we've got the floating steps right off the bat. We've got the Big Dipper, which is longer and is missing the cargo net on the landing, which will come into play later on in this episode. We've got the block run with 4 blocks instead of 5, a little bit more spaced out, a little bit more challenging. We've got the spin cycle, of course. We've got the pipe fitter, in which the hanging pipes above move a lot less, so you can't get that swinging momentum like you got on the qualifying course. Next up, we've of course got the 14 and a half foot warped wall. Right after that, we go to the salmon ladder, the floating monkey bars, the clacker, the brand new clacker. And this thing is a beast.
This is a tough course. I mean, yeah, it's a beast. And not to mention that spin cycle. That was tough as hell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, right after the clacker, finishing off the city finals, as it always does, is the invisible ladder. A 30-foot chute where you must, as the name implies, climb an invisible ladder by pumping yourself up on those rings.
Love to pump myself up, but I don't know if I'd make it up this ladder.
Exactly. So let's get right into it with Eddie Stewart. He's a firefighter, 33 years old, from Hueytown, Alabama, and he is getting his pecs dancing.
Boy, is this guy built or what?
This guy is jacked.
He's dancing the pecs.
Of course.
He's working it.
That's what you got to do. 5'9", 201, built at like a brick shit.
That's exactly what I thought. And I was writing down my notes. I'm like, a brick shit house.
Exactly. A real smooth landing right off the Big Dipper. Kind of crashes a little bit on the landing off of the block run. It looked like the landing off the block run, he kind of hit his head a little bit.
He hit hard, yeah, and he was holding his head afterwards. It looked like he might have been...
you got to really shake it off, yeah, because that's no joke. I mean, doing this course already is hard enough, let alone after you've taken a blow to the head.
No kidding. And not just that blow to the head, but right afterwards when he was on the spin cycle, he took quite a dive there.
Oh, man. So he gets on that second... I guess, would you call it a wheel?
I don't even know. Yeah, it's hard to know.
For lack of a better term, we're going to call them wheels.
Yeah.
On that second one, he's wild all over the place and just ends up diving headfirst into the water, which we don't see very much.
Just to keep it wheel. I mean, just to keep it real. Real, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed about the spin cycle with Eddie Stewart's run is that if you're swinging too much, when you're on that second wheel, especially if you're swinging too much, you end up going forward and going backward, and there's a lot of movement, but you're not going anywhere.
It's a tough one to master, though. I'll tell you what, because whether they're moving, I mean, all of them were not going very well on the wheel,
right?
But they kept it wheel, and they were spinning around. And I'll tell you what, that's got to just drain your arms.
Exactly.
A few of them got the run pretty well through and efficient, but I don't know. I didn't figure it out. I don't know if you did.
No, not really. Well, it seemed like there were two different approaches to it.
Yeah.
It seemed like some people, if they had the wingspan, if they had the height advantage, they could reach from one to the other.
Right.
A lot of other people were kind of hopping and jumping from wheel to wheel.
And I think it was Akbar that said that was a pretty good strategy if they had the, you have to have the guts to take the jump.
If you can, it seems like it kind of conserves a little bit more of that energy, which you definitely need on the back half of this course.
For sure, because they were all toast before they hit the warp wall. Yeah.
Exactly. So he ends up diving headfirst into that water, will not make it past the ATL City Finals. Next up, we've got Joey Green from Huntsville, Alabama. He's military net. We got a great story about him taking his nephew in and basically being more of a father than an uncle.
He became
really.
a foster father.
Yeah.
I believe he adopted him, didn't he?
Yeah, he adopted him. His nephew Brandon had to be taken away, put in foster care, so he spent 3 years getting his ducks in a row and becoming his foster parent.
Really touching story.
Absolutely.
And they had a great connection. They're working the obstacle courses together in practice and preparation.
Sure.
And you see that it's really a chance for them to connect as well, which is cool.
Exactly. And I mean, this is another guy just super built. He's a military vet working for a missile defense contractor. Also spent 4 years in the Alabama National Guard.
Right. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing one built person after another.
Exactly.
We're just seeing some massive physiques.
Exactly. He's a little bit smaller than Eddie Stewart. He's 5'9", 171 pounds, but still putting in a great run. Right off of the Big Dipper, just lands straight on his ass on the landing.
Yeah,
it's like, luckily
I've seen worse landings.
Exactly. Luckily, that crash pad's there. Totally fine. Can move on. Yeah. One might even think about the advantages of a landing like that.
Exactly.
Who knows?
It looked pretty smooth. He just slid right in.
Now he's he's coming into this. He's got something a little bit more to prove because he was the slowest to hit the buzzer out of the 27 people that hit it in the qualifiers.
Right. But
So
he
you
was
gotta
moving pretty quickly on this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's got to really light a fire under you to make a good time in the city finals.
He had a pretty good pace, and he was playing for real, and he did pretty well.
And he was one thing also on the pipe fitter on that very last pipe. At one point, he was hanging completely upside down.
I loved that. I thought because he really worked that pipe fitter well, and he made it through to the. And I was like, oh my god! And then I was like, how did he do that? He caught it with his leg until you realize that you pretty much have to catch it with your legs to make it beyond the last one.
Exactly. He makes it all the way up to the warped wall, but at that point, I think between the spin cycle, between the pipe fitter, he's just too exhausted, can't quite make it up in the 3 tries, ends up failing out on the wall. Yeah. So it's tough to see, but it's I think it's still a victory just making it that far.
For sure. And if he was the slowest on the qualifiers to make it up, I mean, he did really well. He can be proud of his run.
Exactly. Now let's talk Brent Ruffin, our redneck ninja. Love this guy. This guy's hunting. This guy's fishing. He's ATVing out in the mud. He's hitting that archer pose. I love that, calling a shot. And also, I've talked a lot about how people use their environment to train in unorthodox unorthodox styles, and this guy's tossing wagon wheels around.
Yeah, you can't call yourself the redneck ninja without having unorthodox training methods.
Exactly. Now he was one of the guys that hit the buzzer in the qualifying course. This is his 4th season qualifying, but he's never quite made it to Vegas just yet.
Absolutely wants to make it to the city where he gets to play a little and
exactly. Yeah. And it's I noticed a lot of little things watching Brent Ruffin this time around. I watched he had that cross grip on the Big Dipper,
right,
which I think is very, very important.
And well, he had the cross grip, and then he was working to switch it back and forth and trying to figure out what was really the best grip.
Exactly.
To your point, because you had said in a previous episode, how do you dismount from a lot of these things with the cross
grip?
Sure.
And actually, difficult. I mean, really, now that I think about it, I'm not sure the cross grip would be as good for something like the Big Dipper. Now that I think about it,
right,
it might be good for something like the wedge, like we saw, because there's that danger of the bar slipping out of your hands.
Right.
But when you're on the Big Dipper and the idea is to launch yourself
when
forward,
you got to get the forward momentum, that cross grip could get in your way.
Yeah, it might be better to use a kind of palms out.
Well,
grip.
I think it was on his run that we saw. It may have very well been him that was struggling with what do I do? Do I go cross grip? Do I go forward grip? And it became pretty evident that it's hard to launch and especially dismount without a forward grip. Yeah.
Exactly. Now this guy, he's a halftime entertainer for the Memphis Grizzlies, so he's no stranger to trampolines.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's one of those things you never think about, but of course it would come in handy.
Yeah, I gotta have my trampoline skills up to par, right?
Exactly. He's 6 foot, 185 pounds, a bigger guy. I love right before the block run, he takes a second and he's sort of analyzing it and he's studying it. And it's things like that. A couple weeks ago we saw the chess master going in. You have to have a game plan. You have have to kind of really analyze it.
Absolutely, planning out the strategy, knowing how you're going to hit each one, and once again, we say this every time, but they get better and better as the evening progresses, and you have to think that comes from watching the strategies play out, seeing what works best, seeing what doesn't. Yeah,
exactly. And he's one of the guys that on the spin cycle was sort of jumping rather than reaching,
and it really worked for him.
I love that after landing off the spin cycle, just pulls a toothpick out of his mouth.
Yeah, what's with that?
Like it's just. Like,
I'm looking for the toothpick as he's going up the pipe and going, is he still got that in there?
Right, exactly. It's little things, you just put a little mustard on it. Now there's, also on the pipe fitter, up to that second floating pipe, it's a foot rise. So that's kind of just an added challenge there on an already challenging obstacle.
And that pipe fitter looked very, like I thought at first, well, this is going to be easier for them because they don't have the swing, but
exactly
it turned out to be a lot harder because they had all the weight bearing.
Exactly. It's funny that you mentioned that because I had thought the same thing. I felt like there were kind of pros and cons to the fact that it was a little bit more stationary.
Right.
You couldn't get that swinging momentum, but it seemed like it might have been a little bit easier to hold on to.
Yeah, like you got something solid at least, right?
Exactly.
Did you think that this course was more challenging than the LA course?
No, because I think the LA course had the wedge, didn't it?
Right. Yeah.
I think the wedge is really the difference maker.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Like I was watching this at first and I thought, you know what, this looks easier than the LA course. But then as the evening progressed and you saw how many people just weren't making it up the warp wall even, I was like, I don't know.
In terms of kind of the specific obstacles, I think the wedge, obviously did a lot more people in than the clacker did tonight.
Yeah,
but to be fair, that's also because a lot of people, a lot of people didn't even make it to the clacker.
Yeah.
But Brent Ruffin, he on the pipe fitter, it seems like when he gets to that last pipe, his legs are sort of caught on the chain,
right?
And so it's a hard time getting those down.
A few of them had that tonight for the dismount. How do you then transition when you slide down to the bottom to dismount effectively?
Exactly,
yeah.
And once he gets to a hanging position, he can't quite lâcher to the landing pit,
and it was kind of surprising. We didn't expect him to go down when he went down. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it looked like when he was getting that momentum going,
that he had it.
At one point the mat was right underneath him, and then it just seemed like his hand slipped right as he swung back over the water.
I think he thought he had it too.
Right.
He said that with Christine Leahy afterwards. That I thought I had it until I found myself in the water.
Exactly. Next up, we've got Chad Hall. He's a contractor from Trinity, North Carolina. This guy is the Ninja Builder. Now, even more than that, he constructs his own obstacles to kind of train on. But even more than that, what I thought was absolutely fascinating is that in last season's Orlando qualifiers, this guy hits his head so hard it opens up a gash.
He's bleeding,
and he finishes the course bleeding from his head.
Keeps running, keeps going. That's a ninja.
This guy is absolutely crazy. And speaking of crazy, on his home course, we saw a little bit of fire underneath his obstacles, reminiscent of Neil Crazy Kramer. Another one of my favorite ninjas.
Crazy Kramer's was great. When we saw all the fire and all the, this guy had the fire there just to a little extra motivation. You go down, you're screwed, right?
Kramer's practically training in a fireworks
that was
factory.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That was an amazing demo tape that he sent in.
Now we talked about how he hit his head on last season's Orlando qualifier. It seems like it's like potentially injury causing at this point.
Like he's going to do it again, right?
Yeah, off of the Big Dipper, it looks like he could possibly have twisted his knee a little bit.
It did. Well, it absolutely looked like he had hurt his leg, and the way he landed, it was really strange.
And then even off of the block run, it was another hard fall. Like this guy just can't get to break. Yeah. But he spends a long time on the spin cycle, which they mention, and it's like we said, that's the kind of thing that will wear your arms and your deltoids and your biceps. It'll wear it all out.
And you got to imagine that the swinging motion too. It's not just the hanging; it's the swinging, and then trying to figure it out. Like that's just
exactly. But I mean, he perseveres. He makes it past the pipe fitter, makes it up the wall on the very first try. But it's that first rung on the salmon ladder.
Yeah.
It's he hops. It looks like he's got it completely. He's keeping those L's as Akbar loves.
He went a little high with the left side, didn't he?
Exactly. It lands a little bit uneven, and that's all it takes. Sends him straight into the water.
Yeah, good run though. Good run. He was the first one to make it that far, I believe. Yeah,
yes,
first one to make it up the wall.
First one to make it up the wall. Made it to the salmon ladder.
Really nice run.
Next up, we've got Tyler Martin from Norcross, Georgia, a gymnastics coach. Another, we get so many of these amazing stories because it really seems like it's past like that and it's histories like that that really fortify the type of people that go out for something like
Yeah,
this.
he had a really sharp character. He's 21 years old. Started parkour when he was 14 years old.
Exactly, right.
He said he was doing flips off the tables in the cafeteria at school.
Absolutely.
So he was running, and we also see. So his mother died. That was
Right.
That was the big,
His mother passed when he was 12. What was interesting is, we've seen people come from loss and from places of loss, but he, not only that, but he mentions that he had a tough time controlling his anger as well.
Right. What was interesting, what he said about his mother was that she would say, "You did well, but you got more in you."
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
she must have been a little tough on him too, or she saw the best in him and saw everything that he was capable of
Sure,
becoming,
yeah.
and held him to that standard.
Exactly. Yeah. She knows the heights that he could have reached. And so it's interesting. Yeah. He talks about not being able to control his anger, but something like this is so perfect to be able to channel that sort of energy and that sort of fire and that sort of passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And he looked like a solid kid, solid character, and he was breezing right through this thing, and he was built too, really well built.
For sure.
Lean, wiry frame, but built well.
And that's the thing. Yeah, he's lied. He's 5'8", 171, but he's got a 450-pound deadlift.
Wow.
Yeah, just absolutely
insane.
deceptively strong. And we see that emotion, we see that passion from him. He lets out this huge scream on the pipe fitter. He calls a shot on the warped wall, gives it a thumbs down. One of the most badass moments of the season.
They said it's very Gladiator, right? You're going down.
Exactly. He shakes his arms out on that very last rung of the salmon ladder. He's the very first person of the night to make it to the floating monkey bars, but that very first one we see our kind of first taste of the things that it can do, because you have to take that bar and you have to land it in that next groove.
Yeah, the precision you have to have with that to place it is insane. And I think that we saw the people that handled this one the best were the people that would just take it nice and easy and place it in, rather than going a little crazy as you're going to place that.
Exactly. So that first monkey bar slips out of the groove, and it's not enough for him to keep his arms up and keep his strength up. Falls into the water, but he's made it the farthest thus far of the night.
Surprising too. I didn't expect it.
Exactly. Next up, we've got one of the Brazzi Bros. We've got Lucas Gomez. These guys are amazing. He's a worship leader from Coral Springs, Florida. He and his brother Alexio are just like, it's another one of those stories that we love to see.
Yeah, they're Brazilians. They're from Brazil. They've got that Brazilian spirit, and they were saying that it was like a Brazilian soccer game in the stands because they had the flags there. They're cheering them. They've got the colors.
Exactly. Now, last year, Lucas didn't hit a buzzer, but Alexio did. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there, obviously.
Yeah. And he works it tonight.
Exactly. He now on that last block on the block run, it almost looks like he not only falls but like falls sideways.
Yeah,
that was one of the gnarlier wipeouts that we saw on the block run.
Yeah, he recovered pretty well from it, and I'll tell you what, I did not expect this run out of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even right from the floating stairs, he did not look like the other runners. He didn't leap with ease and grace. He was just kind of stepping across.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit slower, maybe a little bit more methodical. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he has, obviously he's a veteran.
A serious veteran now.
He's 5'11", 165 pounds. So he's got those long arms that help him on things like the spin cycle and the pipe fitter. He makes it up that wall. He misses that first monkey bar like Tyler Martin did, but barely saves it. But it's that second bar that gets him.
Right.
Makes the first bar, and just the exact same way, it's that second one. And it sends him almost backwards into the water.
Yeah, that looked a little scary, actually, because he missed it, and that momentum carried him back, and it looked like he might hit the beginning of it. But I didn't expect such a good run out of this guy. It was it was very impressive.
Definitely. Next up, we've got Casey Suchaki, and of course, this is one of my favorite ninjas of the season because he's got such a close relationship with his grandfather. We saw that in the qualifiers, obviously, and not only that, but he spent 3 weeks in the walk-on line.
Oh my God!
That's absolute dedication to becoming a ninja, and he keeps. I mean, really, there's nothing much to say up until the pipe fitter. He's keeping such a smooth pace. He's not really making any missteps.
First through the floating monkey bars too.
There were a couple.
Oh, were there?
Yeah.
But made it all the way through.
Oh, that made it through. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Or actually, no. He lost on the monkey bar. Sorry. We got our notes.
Okay. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. Casey dropped out on the clacker.
Casey, that's right. I'm looking at the wrong person.
Clacker, and he's got typed notes He's got.
It's all right, guys. It's a Wednesday night.
We got
it's a little bit late. We're fine. Casey Suchaki, yes. It's on the salmon ladder. At one point, he gets that uneven rung, but he's able to correct
He
it.
corrects it. My God.
Yeah. That
Some
was
these
one of
things
the
totally unexpected.
One of the moments I definitely thought that he was going to lose it for
Right.
sure, but to be able to correct it even and make it past is so much more impressive.
I think we saw a couple of these ones where we weren't expecting, and they were able to recover.
Right.
Like on the third run on the wall, or on the recovering there too. That was
Sure,
pretty
and
amazing.
he's making a great pace. He makes it to the floating monkey bars in under 3 minutes.
Wow.
Skips past that last monkey bar to finish that obstacle, and it's that clacker. You know, he keeps trying to get that clacker over,
And he made it to the last one, didn't he? I think he made it
very
all
close.
Yeah,
Exactly,
like the
yeah.
last clacker, I just couldn't pick it up anymore.
And it's so frustrating and so heartbreaking to see him kind of trying to reach it up and reach it up
You got
and reach it up.
nothing left. Yeah.
And it just saps so much of your upper body strength. And I think the front half of this course is all about agility. The back half is all about upper body strength.
Right, and we saw so many people lose that upper body strength by the time they even got to the first couple of the back half.
Right, exactly. Next up, we've got Travis Rosen, a stock trader from Franklin, Tennessee, with a family of 5. And it's, you know, that family that they talk about it almost as if like it's a good luck charm, like it's a superstition,
Yeah.
because they were there for the qualifiers. He made it in the qualifiers. He's made it 6 times to Vegas on American Ninja Warrior out of 6 tries.
Well, and his family, he's looking at him. He's like, "This one's for you." He's like,
I love it.
Yeah, there's a really close bond and connection.
Exactly. Not only does he have the power of his family, but he's coming off of 2 major injuries as well. During the Vegas finals, he broke a rib. During Team Ninja Warrior, he broke his wrist.
What's with that? I mean, and he keeps coming back.
Right, exactly. And that's that spirit that we keep talking about, is like anyone else would have those injuries and say, I might be done with this.
Yeah, no, I thought, I was watching it before going, maybe I should give this a try. And then you hear about him breaking his rib and his wrist, and it's like, wow, that padding, I don't know. Is it really that good?
Exactly. At 41 years old, Travis Rosen is the oldest ninja of the night. That's not slowing him down at all. He makes it to the monkey bars in just a little over 2.5 minutes.
Very impressive.
The first to finish the clacker of the night. He's looking a little bit wild, a little bit out of control on the invisible ladder, but he manages to finish in 6 minutes, 52 seconds, the very first finish of the night.
First one up tonight, and I was really wondering if anybody else was going to make it after that, because this is a tough course. By the time he made it there, it's like, oh my God. And he said he didn't know if he had anything left to make it up that invisible ladder.
Absolutely. And at that point, you really shouldn't be able to have anything
Yeah,
left.
that's true.
I mean,
you make it that far, you're gonna be working it.
Exactly. Yeah, we see the people that did finish, by the time they get up to the top of the invisible ladder, it's so difficult to bring your legs all the way up onto that platform and kind of go up those last few rungs.
Takes everything you got.
Absolutely. Next up, we join JoJo Bams' run in progress. He's a semi-pro baseball player. We kind of join him right before the wall. He barely makes it up the wall on his 3rd try.
Right, and I did not. This is one of them. I didn't think he'd make it.
Absolutely.
Did you?
I mean, it's one of those things. The warped wall. Once you fail it the first time, it's got to be just exponentially harder.
Demoralizing too.
Exactly.
Like both mentally and physically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing. It gets in your head. You're spending so much of your energy just trying to get it all out on that first try that if you don't make it, what else do you have left?
This is what really impressed me about him, was that, like, because for me, he was done. After he missed the second time, there was no way. I didn't even know they got 30 tries anyway. I thought it was 2, because it used to be in the qualifiers, I think. Was it 3?
No, I think it's always been 3.
It's always been 3.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm expecting 2. But
a lot of people don't even get to that. That's
right.
what it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, this guy's done. There's no way he's going to make it. And he goes right up, and he's like, boy, more power to him to pull it all together and get up there, you know?
Exactly. He makes it up those up the warped wall, has kind of a hard fall off of the monkey bars, but he makes it past, and it's on that clacker. You know, we see his face, and we see him kind of get in that zone, but there's just not enough left in his body. It's like that thing, you know, the mind is willing, but the body is
right.
weak,
It's like,
you know?
I want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, he's trying so hard, and he's concentrating, and you can see the intense focus, just can't hold on that clacker.
Yeah. Took it out. Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about one half of the Ninja Newlyweds, Brent Sims. I love this guy. Kennesaw, Georgia. He's a 29-year-old parkour instructor. He and his wife, Grace Jones Sims, they met at a ninja gym. A year later, they were in Costa Rica. They got married.
Good place to go.
Exactly. I mean, this guy is just kind of the quintessential Ninja Warrior. He met his wife there. He was on the very first season of American Ninja Warrior.
She was on Team Ninja Warrior.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, this guy, he's been doing parkour since 2007. Like, you got to think that was way before parkour became, like, kind of mainstream and cool.
Yeah.
Right.
What is this you're doing?
This guy, yeah, he's
small and wiry.
He's 5'6", 130 pounds, definitely smaller than a lot of the other ninjas that we saw tonight. Not only that, these ninja newlyweds share a house with yet another ninja, Ryan Stratus.
Right.
Just so many ninjas under one roof. But he makes it all the way to the wall, absolutely no problem up the wall, makes it past those monkey bars. He fights a little bit through the clacker, but this was kind of one of the first runs where it seemed like he really had it in control the whole time.
Yeah, no, you see, and once again, I come back to how 5'6", 130 pounds, with a little wiry frame that can really work well. He doesn't have the wingspan like will help out so many of them, but he was doing pretty darn well.
Exactly, and it looked like he was struggling a little bit on the invisible ladder, but he manages to finish in 7 minutes 36 seconds for his very first finals course finish.
There you go. That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely,
pretty amazing.
So good. I love when Christine's able to tell people they're going to going to Vegas. Yeah, exactly. Next up, this has got to be the most heartbreaking moment of the night for me. We've got Caleb Watson, our dairy farmer from Sweetwater, Tennessee. Just one of my absolute favorite characters.
What is it you like about him?
He's so animated, but in such a way that it's clearly not put on. Right down to the handmade "Give me this mountain" shirt. I mean, he's milking cows, he's tossing hay bales around, climbing up silos.
All American.
I mean, he's just he really is this character.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming from a wrestling background. He reminds me a lot of the Von Erichs. The Von Erichs, very very famous wrestling dynasty in the South, and he reminds me a lot of a member of the Von Erichs. And there's so much of that country charm there.
Right.
And it was, he made the second fastest time on the ATL qualifying course, only behind Drew Dreschel, who's one of the all-time greats. Yeah, definitely. So it's so heartbreaking that he ends up losing it on the Big Dipper.
Right.
And they mention on the qualifier, it was the cargo net that saved him after the Big Dipper. He just barely clung onto it.
So it was tough for him before.
And so this time around, there's no cargo net there, and that's what ultimately did him in.
That's and surprising, just really surprising.
Exactly,
yeah.
And it's so tough to watch, and you can tell he's upset with himself. He says, "I just plumb choked."
Yeah, and you hate that when it happens, but it can happen to anybody. We saw that with Casey
Catanzaro. Yeah, definitely.
I'm still pronouncing the name right, but she's awesome, and it's happened with so many.
And that's the thing, you never know. It really comes down to any given day on any given obstacle, Going back to unorthodox training methods, I love that on his farm, he carries buckets without the handles to improve his grip strength. He deliberately takes off the handles and carries them just with his hands on the lip to improve his grip strength.
Unlike how ninja training was originally. You wouldn't wait in a line and you'd go to the Shaolin Temple and you'd wait outside until they said okay, and then it's so different, but
right, exactly,
it works.
Next up, we've got James McGrath, one half of the Ninja Roommates. As we saw, I mean, a lot of fanfare surrounding these two. There's this friendly sense of competition between them, but they're both such incredible athletes.
And well-deserved fanfare, too.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, James McGrath, he's called the Beast. He's got that crazy hair, but we talked about Casey Catanzaro. She puts the dreads in his hair, makes him more aerodynamic.
So she's there so they're traveling around. So you get the ninjas
And I was wondering about that today, because you see a lot of the ninjas. We saw Jeff Britton watching today, who will be competing in the Philadelphia finals. I wonder about that. Do they go to every final?
Well, it looks like some of them do. Huh?
Right, exactly.
It's a whole lifestyle for them. They're preparing for a year in advance. They're training at ninja gyms.
Sure.
And, this is their thing. This is what their life's about.
Absolutely. James McGrath, one of the taller ninjas, 6'2", 160 pounds. He's, another guy that's kind of wiry.
Right.
But it helps. I think that body type might be kind of the optimal body type.
It really works.
When you've got the height, you've got the wingspan, you've got the reach. But if you're wiry and if you're lithe, you don't have that weight holding you down on stuff like the spin cycle and the pipe fitter.
Yep, absolutely. And for dismounts and everything, it's going to help.
Exactly.
Because you got the extra distance. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, this guy, he flies up the salmon ladder. I think they talk about it. It's as if he's in an elevator.
Right.
Just straight up it like it's no big deal.
He flew through everything.
Exactly. Makes it past the monkey bar, past the clacker. He's just blistering past Travis Rosen's pace. The last finisher before him has no problems at all going up that invisible ladder, and he manages to finish in 5 minutes and 1 second.
Insane.
Just, I mean,
fastest time of the night.
For comparison, Travis Rosen, the next closest finisher, was 6:52.
Right.
And he's at 5:01. just like it's nothing for him.
That's beautiful. Beautiful run.
But of course, we've got to have that rivalry. We've got to have that competition, because right after him, we've got Drew Dreschel, Fairfield, Connecticut, 27 years old. Last year, he made it all the way to stage 3 in Las Vegas.
And they say Real Life Ninja is his name, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we've got, we talked about the other ninjas watching. We've got the weatherman, Joe Moravsky, watching. We've obviously got, James McGrath watching to see if he'll be this time. And of course, we've got the Brazzi Bros watching, because, and this is important, Lucas is right there at the number 15 spot.
Right.
And so him going to Vegas depends on if Drew Dreschel makes it to the floating monkey bars.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knew there was no doubt that
he
was
wasn't
going to
do
happen.
it. Yeah. Right.
And it's heartbreaking, because Lucas is the one that didn't hit the buzzer last year, and his brother did.
And he did such a good run here tonight.
Exactly.
To his credit, he was ahead of the pack early on.
And that's one of those things, we've talked about how Ninja Warrior, how the community is so tight knit, but that's kind of the only time that I can imagine you're watching going like, come on, fall.
Yeah.
Just fall in the water. Just fall in the water.
Each other
you got next year. It's fine. But I mean, Drew Dreschel just absolutely another blistering pace. Makes it up the salmon ladder with no problems. He makes it to those monkey bars, which guarantees he'll be making it to Vegas, and sadly kicks Lucas Gomez right out of the top 15 spot.
Then keeps going.
And just keeps going. Flies through that clacker. It seems like faster than anyone had up to that point. The invisible ladder, he had failed on it in last year's Orlando finals, but at this point it was really just a matter of if he was going to beat James McGrath's time.
Right.
And as hard as he tries, he comes up just 4 seconds short.
It was so close.
Finishes in 5 minutes and 5 seconds, just a couple minutes short of James McGrath's time.
Second short, yeah.
So we've got our top 15 qualifiers for
do you have the list?
Going from ATL to Vegas, and I do have the list.
Wow.
Our top 15 Ninja Warriors that will be going on to Las Vegas will be James McGrath, Drew Dreschel, Travis Rosen, Brett Sims. Those 4 guys were our only finishers of the night. Next up, we've got Casey Suchaki, Sean Richardson, JoJo Bams. All of those lost on the clacker. The rest of the field lost on the floating monkey bars. That's Neil Craver, Crazy Craver. We'll see him in Vegas. Tyler Martin, Chris Bohm, Yuri Force, Mike Chick, Alexio Gomez, Mac Rush, the king of obstacles, and Todd Bourgeois.
You are seriously organized tonight. I'll tell you what, man. That's great.
Like having it organized, having that information. Thank you.
There's hope for us. They got the surgery where they break your legs in 2 places, and they can add several inches to your height.
There you go.
We can do this.
There you go. Yeah. Let's get it, guys. We're gonna be ninjas. Oh man, but that is it. That's it for the week. That's it for the ATL finals. Next week will be the Indianapolis finals. We see such favorites as Megan Martin, Brian Arnold, Jake Murray. Who knows what we're going to see? We know we're going to see an absolutely unforgiving course.
So
let's see how many people finish. We saw only 4 people finish tonight, even less than that in LA.
Yeah, these finals are tough. I'll tell you what. We were seeing a lot more people pass through before, and they're really weeding them out.
And I'm excited to see how much more difficult it gets once we get to Vegas.
Absolutely.
But guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back here next week, same bat time, same bat channel, talking episode 8, the Indy Finals. But for now, Chris Howard, where can they find you?
Chris Howard live on Twitter and Instagram. Also go to legendarylivingdaily.com for tips, motivation, different types of things for your life, and legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube.
There you go. And as always, I am at Ty Matthews PMA on all forms of social media, as well as various other after shows, including Monday Night Raw on, of course, Mondays, right here on Ninja Warrior on Wednesdays, and tomorrow night for the very last time this season, Lucha Underground. So watch the Ultima Lucha finale, get some wrestling in your head, and watch the finale, because that's the last time we'll be doing it this season. Of course, if you're on iTunes, download, comment, review, subscribe, rate, 5 stars if you're nasty. If you're on YouTube, leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram. You love ninjas, we love ninjas. Let's all talk about ninjas. Let's talk about hoodie ninjas at that. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, peace.
Whoa.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.